Aglorev Magazine Live is brought to you by
Feroga Leilani's Energy Exchange. Express yourself without saying a word.
and
Aglorev Entertainment. Mind, body, soul, energy healing.
Girls, they wanna have fun. Oh, girls just wanna have fun.
Welcome back to Aglorev Magazine Live. It's time for your weekly dose of astrology to keep things on track and some dating insights to help you swim through or skate over your dating dilemmas. Blake Lively has good news about her lawsuit with Justin Baldoni. And Trump sends the military to LA at the dismay of Newsom. Farmer wants a wife or an employee he can shag. Love Island UK announces the new cast members, and then I'm going to make you laugh, so stick around. There is a story that has been playing out in all of our lives since the end of November of last year. This is coming to the end of this chapter. Not the end of this story, just the end of its chapter. Think of right now as the final paragraph before you turn the page and begin reading the next chapter. I want you to close your eyes, pause, and envision what you want to happen in chapter 2, and then turn the page and create it. In November of last year, we had the new moon in Sagittarius, sparking new beginning, the Sagittarius area of your birth chart. And on the 11th, we had a full moon in Sagittarius. Full moons are the simultaneous end and the simultaneous beginnings of the story that was previously started on the new moon in that same sign. And that new moon was in November last year. The full moon was the 11th of June. This is not the end of the story, although for some it may feel that way. It's more of the end of this chapter and the start of the next chapter, with a continued theme which comes from the house, which is the area of life that Sagittarius governs in your birth chart. For example, if this is your 7th house, this is related to your relationships, your love life, partnerships, your agreements. If it's in your 10th house, this is your career, professional life, success and achievements. If this is your 2nd house, this is your financial aspirations, financial goals. If this is your 6th house, this may be your physical health and wellness. Something of that nature. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is arguably the best planet to represent luck, prosperity, abundance, new experiences, new adventures, knowledge, wisdom, philosophy, education, just the pursuit of experiences in life. What makes us who we are and shapes who we are and our minds. So when this full moon aligns only 2 days after its rulership, Jupiter just left Gemini, its detriment, and entered Cancer, its exaltation, where it's happy and thriving, we're being instructed to go after something that we want. Now is the time to cast spells, be intentional, create a vision board, and literally get to work. We're also being instructed to let go of our need to understand or prepare for everything and just kind of go with the flow. Because this full moon in Sagittarius is forming 2 simultaneous squares to the North Node over in Pisces and the South Node over in Virgo. She's also going to be forming a harmonious trine to Mars over in Leo. Basically, sparking up confidence, take passionate action towards something that feels more aligned with who you are. It is also a full moon, So emotions might be running high, especially because this full moon happens to be ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, and in Cancer, the most emotional and nostalgic sign. So you may be feeling very emotional or nostalgic. Understand this illumination as well, but just know that this is in order to have you feel the sense of remembrance, have all those past adventures come back, remind you of all that made you who you are today, and then it will motivate you to go after who you want to continue to become or grow into moving forward. So go do it. You may not know this, but you probably have an unconscious dating mindset. We all do. It might be learned from our parents in early relationships or any other kind of formative childhood experience. But it affects so much of our behavior when we meet someone we like. There are 3 types of people that I see struggling in dating all the time. I'm calling them, for the purpose of this video, the skater, the sinker, and the sideliner. And as I go through the characteristics of these 3 different archetypes, let me know in the comments which one you most identify with. The first archetype is the skater, like an ice skater on a frozen lake. The skater is someone who is out there dating a lot. This is someone who has definitely prioritized their dating life. They are open about the fact that they are looking for love, but they date like it's their job. There is a palpable fear of this person being on their own, of leaving any real gaps between anyone. They're constantly dating and jumping from one person to the next. That could be in a form of lots of short-term relationships, and as soon as one ends, they go straight to the next one. It could also be in the form of dates themselves, going on multiple dates every single week, never really having the time to be present with any one person or to be seen by the other person. In a sense, the skater lacks vulnerability. There's no time to go deep. There's no time to be seen, to actually open up about who they are. And importantly, there isn't the space to actually get hurt. Because if someone hurts their feelings, even if someone rejects them, even if someone that they've been seeing suddenly disappears, instead of in any way feeling or indulging that pain, they are straight on to the next. There is something inherently avoidant. There is the avoidance of any real pain, the avoidance of true emotional vulnerability, the kind of vulnerability that can actually allow you to be hurt in a situation. And I think one of the greatest dangers of skating when it comes to dating is that dating, to get a real connection, actually requires us to be present. It requires us to slow down enough to actually see things that we don't see when we're going at a pace, to see parts of someone that you don't see when you're dating so many people that you never really see anyone. So for the person who's skating, it's hard to even find that true, deep, organic connection that we are all looking for. When we say we want to find love, the second person I want to talk about is the sinker. This is the person who very much in the water. They meet someone that they like. They quickly become obsessed with that person. They become engrossed in that person's world. They go out of their way to try and impress this person. to become whomever this person wants them to be, or what they think this person wants them to be. They try to make themselves available for this person whenever they can. They go out of their way to please this person. They become anxiously attached. So the sinker is much more characterized by a kind of anxious attachment style. The sinker can make the other person too important too quickly. They're obsessed over why someone hasn't texted them, where the relationship is going, what the other person is thinking. They overanalyze about situations all the time, chopping it up 1,000 different ways. And it's almost impossible for the sinker to be themselves because they're so busy being whatever the other person wants them to be. The sinker is so busy trying to secure someone, trying to get them and to be whatever they think they need to be to get that person, that there's no room left for them to truly be who they are. There's no room left for them to have any needs, because when you spend all your time trying to please someone else, there is no room for the things that you want. You're afraid to even voice what you want for fear it's going to push them away. So the sinker, in the process of becoming obsessed with this person that they'll do anything to get, begin losing themselves. Then there's the third person, the sideliner. This is the one person that takes themselves out of the game altogether. It's like they're standing on the side of the lake, looking at all of the people in the lake, saying, that's not for me. Or they could list a load of reasons why this is true. I've been hurt too much in the past to even do this again. I'm so sick of men because all men are like this. Or I'm so sick of women because all women are like this. They will refer to dating as being impossible. They make generalizations. They become completely disenchanted by the process as a defense mechanism, so that they can never be rejected by a date. They reject dating themselves. The truth is that these different archetypes aren't always different people. They can be the same person at different stages of the dating game. It could be that we get scared that we're not going to meet someone, and so we start becoming very type A about dating itself, and we go out there and we date and we date and we date and we date, never really getting below the surface with anyone, almost treating dating like a game of how many dates we can go on, never giving ourselves time to breathe, constantly on a mission to find love, but finding that we never really meet anyone we connect with or like, until finally one day someone breaks through. Someone gets our attention. Maybe there's a specific kind of smile about this person. There's something interesting, mysterious, gripping about them. And all of a sudden, we begin syncing with them. And of course, by the way, when you're dating that much, at a certain point, the person who's going to stand out is not necessarily the person that you have the greatest connection with on a deep level. It's the person who has the best riz. That's the person where we think, oh my god, there's something special about this person. I don't know what it is. There's just something about them. You don't end up rewarding the person that would become the best teammate to you in a relationship. you end up rewarding the person who's the best salesperson. We over-obsess. We overanalyze. We make them too important. We go out of our way to please them. We drop everything, including our own life. And we do everything we can to try and secure them. And when we inevitably get hurt in a relationship like that, with someone to whom we are giving way more than they deserve, we're so mortified that we decide, you know what, I am done with dating. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to date anymore. I am just going to be on my own. And so you do that for a while. You sideline yourself until eventually you get to the point where you start thinking, this can't be all there is. I need to get out there and meet someone. And you jump in with a ferociousness, again, to try to find someone in the state of panic. That leads to skating. And now, the cycle of going from skater to sinker to sideliner and all the way back again leads to dating burnout. And that's the thing we have to avoid if we want to find real love. We have to find a way to go through the process of dating in a way that is actually sustainable and even enriches our lives as we go. Learn the love, the process. And it doesn't have to be that we have to learn to love the process of going on loads of dates with different people that don't pan out. But there has to be something about the process that we love. Something about it that makes sense to us. Something about it we can frame and in a way that we can tell ourselves, I'm learning as I go. I'm getting closer to what I want. I am refining my tastes. I'm getting better at exerting my standards. I'm getting better at showing up as myself. I'm getting better at seeing other people through a compassionate lens and really getting to know them. There has to be something driving us beyond just the immediate result. And when we've done that, we've learned the antidote of skating, sinking, or sidelining ourselves. We've learned how to swim. Swimming is the answer to not being one of these three archetypes. And people who know how to swim in dating, they go at it at an organic pace. They're people that don't overdate, but they don't underdate either. Overdating is when you go on so many dates that you become the skater and you never really connect with anyone. Underdating is when you go on so few dates that you get obsessed with the first person that comes along. We need to find a dating cadence that works for us to build organic connections, to actually get to know people a little bit better. At least having a few dates between our dates so that we can have some follow-up, so that an attraction plot line can actually begin without being interrupted by a date the next evening. Swimming is about learning to stay hopeful during the process. It's about knowing that with someone or without someone, you're going to keep moving forward in your life. If it's progressing with someone, great. You'll keep moving forward either way. If it's not progressing with someone, you'll keep moving forward in another direction. And moving in another direction doesn't always have to mean immediately find someone else, so that you don't have to feel any pain of the situation. It's about actually feeling your feelings, being present enough with your feelings that you can heal. And then, when you meet someone new, being present enough with them to actually get to know them, to actually reveal who you are. The truth is, if we can find more joy in the dating process, we will be able to be more productive in the process, because we'll be able to sustain our energy in dating for longer. Swimming means not suddenly overvaluing the charismatic person that comes along, but instead more slowly evaluating who's got the kind of qualities that would make them great for a relationship, in the way they show up, in the way that they treat you, and how at home you feel with this person, and how much of yourself this person brings out when you're with this person. Do you feel like the meanest you? Do you feel comfortable enough to do that? And do you feel like you make them feel comfortable to do the same? When we think like that, we're no longer rewarding the person who comes along and dazzles us. Someone may dazzle us, but we're still going to reserve our judgment for a time where we know that they have the right stuff to be a great teammate. And this inevitably involves going slower. You can't swim as fast as you can skate, but the results will be more real when you get them. When you're swimming, we focus on the connecting instead of the impressing. So what is the antidote to these three archetypes? How can we avoid them so we don't keep ending up in dating burnout? Now, if you're on the sidelines of dating right now, it takes courage to put yourself in the water. It really does. You can get hurt there. You can have disappointments there. But it's also where the living is. Because otherwise, you'll deny yourself a key part of yourself. You're not just denying yourself someone else. You're denying yourself something that is in you. The desire to connect. The desire for romance. So being in the water is a way of connecting with ourselves. Even if we don't find the right person straight away. But when you're in the water, having taken the courageous step it takes, confidence to slow down to an organic pace, even when you're faced with people who are trying to move at lightning speed, or love bomb you with their rears and all of the things that they want you to feel so that they can get theirs. But it also takes confidence to say no to the wrong thing when it comes along, especially if it's the only thing that's come along in a while. Swimming is staying in the game and continuing to move forward. Dating can be a daunting process. If you need help navigating the waters, contact me through my website. After a judge dismissed Justin Baldoni's lawsuit and Blake Lively suddenly addressed the victory on social media, the It Ends With Us director's attorney slammed her claims that the suit is over. Justin Baldoni's attorney has a lot more to say. One day after the It Ends With Us director's $400 million countersuit against Blake Lively, as well as her husband, Ryan Reynolds, and publicist Leslie Sloan, was officially dismissed by a judge. June 9th, his attorney stressed that the legal battle is far from over. Ms. Lively and her team's predictable declaration of victory is false, Baldoni's attorney Brian Friedman said in a statement to E! News. So let us be clear about the latest ruling. Indeed, in legal documents obtained by E! Judge Louis J. Lemon ruled that Baldoni and his associates have failed to prove defamation in their filing, and to prove that Lively's threats were wrongful extortion rather than legally permissible hard bargaining for renegotiation of working conditions. Baldoni's $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times was also dismissed. However, the judge ruled that Baldoni can refile an amendment complaint on the allegations of tortious interference with contract relating to Reynolds and Lively, and breach of implied covenant relating to Lively by June 23rd, and according to Freeman, Baldoni's case against Lively goes far deeper than his dismissed claims of defamation. This case is about false accusations of sexual harassment and retaliation, and a non-existent smear campaign, which Ms. Lively's own team conveniently describes as untraceable, because they cannot prove what never happened, Friedman says. Most importantly, Ms. Lively's own claims are no truer today than they were yesterday, and with the facts on our side, we march forward with the same confidence that we had when Ms. Lively and her cohorts initiated this battle, and look forward to her forthcoming deposition, which I will be taking. Meanwhile, Lively's attorneys are confident that this will be the end of the line for Baldoni's case. No amount of spin or creative accounting from Baldoni's legal team will change the embarrassing realities staring them in the face, Ezra Hudson and Mike Gottlieb said in the statement to E! The plan to sue Blake Lively and her family into oblivion has been a complete and total failure. For her own part, Lively, who sued Baldoni in January for emotional distress and loss of wages that she says occurred during the filming of It Ends With Us, went on to share gratitude for the support she received following Baldoni's initial filing. Like so many others, I felt the pain of the retaliatory lawsuit, including the manufactured shame that tries to break us, Lively wrote in a June 9th statement on her Instagram story. Whilst the suit against me was defeated, so many don't have the resources to fight back. Following her legal win, Lively said she was more resolved than ever to stand for women's rights to protect themselves, and went on to share resources. She concluded with a note to those who supported her in her own legal endeavor. I will never stop appreciating or advocating for you. About 700 active duty Marines have arrived in the Los Angeles area to join National Guard troops who were sent to the city to respond to protests of a federal immigration enforcement. A defense official said Tuesday morning California Governor Gavin Newsom asked a federal court to block the deployment of troops onto city streets. The Marines joined approximately 2,100 members of the California National Guard, who are now on location in the greater Los Angeles area. Operating in Los Angeles, Paramount, and Compton, a top Pentagon official testified to Congress that the estimated cost of deploying the National Guard and the Marines is roughly $134 million. In a 28-page federal court filing, California Attorney General Rob Bonta asked a judge for a temporary restraining order by 1 p.m. local time to prevent the use of federalized National Guard and active duty Marines for law enforcement purposes on the streets of a civilian city. A judge did not issue a restraining order by the deadline requested by the state, instead granting the Trump administration's request for 24 hours to respond and scheduling a hearing for Thursday. Federal antagonization through the presence of soldiers in the streets has already caused real and irreparable damage to the city of Los Angeles and the people who live here in the state of California. They must be stopped immediately. Notably, the filing says the state does not seek to prevent any of those forces from protecting the safety of federal buildings or other real property owned for lease by the federal government or federal personnel on such property, but instead seeks narrow relief tailored to avoid irreparable harm to our communities and to rule of law that is likely to result in Marines and the National Guard are used for immigration and law enforcement. The U.S. National Command said in a statement that Marines from 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines, 1st Marine Division had been activated to prepare for the deployment. The Marines are based in 29 Palms, a city east of Los Angeles, Northern Command, and said the Marines would seamlessly integrate with hundreds of members of the National Guard to protect federal personnel and federal property. They have been trained in de-escalation, crowd control, and standing rules for the use of force. The military added, U.S. military officials said the Marines are at a staging area in the greater LA area, waiting specific instructions. Appearing before the Armed Services Committee, Marine Corps Commanding General Eric Smith referred specific questions to Northern Command, but said the Marines who have been deployed have received crowd control training and have equipment like shields and batons. He said the Marines do not have arrest authority and they're to protect federal property and federal personnel under federal law. Active duty military cannot be used for domestic law enforcement purposes without the president invoking what is known as the Insurrection Act, a step President Trump has not yet taken. Asked about whether he would invoke the law, Mr. Trump responded, "If there's an insurrection, I would certainly invoke it. We'll see." Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said Monday that around 700 Marines are being deployed to Los Angeles to restore order. The defense chief was appearing before LA lawmakers on Capitol Hill, telling a House committee that we believe ICE agents should be allowed to be safe in doing their operations, and we have deployed National Guard and the Marines to protect them in the execution of their duties. Because we ought to be able to enforce immigration law in this country, several local officials have criticized the arrival of Marines, including California Democratic Senator Alex Padilla, who told CBS News that Mr. Trump is escalating the situation. The National Guard is not only not necessary here, it's counterproductive. Their presence is what's causing people to feel a little bit more on edge. Padilla said, as things have been quieting down a little bit more each day. Newsom, during a news conference, said Trump without consulting California leaders, commanded 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation. He criticized the immigration raid as weakness masquerading as strength. What Donald Trump wants most is your silence, to be complicit. It's in this moment, Newsom said, do not give in to him. Newsom suggests that he would also take legal action over the use of Marines, calling it illegal in a post on X. He wrote, US Marines serve a valuable purpose for the country, defending democracy. They are not political pawns. The Secretary of Defense is illegally deploying them onto American streets, so Trump can have a talking point in his parade this weekend. It's a blatant abuse of power. We will sue to stop this. The courts and Congress must act. Checks and balances are crumbling. This is a red line and they're crossing it. Wake up. Mr. Trump deployed National Guard troops downtown Los Angeles over the weekend to respond to tense protests over immigration and custom enforcement. Alright. The Trump administration argues that the deployment is necessary to protect federal property and ICE agents from violence. Mr. Trump has accused local leaders of not doing enough to deal with the violent clashes at the protests. The military, it was mobilizing another 2,000 members of the California National Guard to respond to the protests. Newsom opposed the deployment, and the state of California is already suing the Trump administration over what it argues is an illegal federalization of the National Guard. Some local officials have argued the deployment could aggravate already caustic situation in downtown Los Angeles, and says state and local police agencies can handle the protests themselves. We didn't have a problem until Trump got involved, Newsom posted on X. Okay, so this week we are working with Farmer Wants a Wife. I'm not going to go into detail with each relationship because the premise itself, each relationship had the same red flags because of the premise. Now, Farmer wants a wife, and then they ask these girls to go to the farm and do work, hard labor, disgusting poo, and whatever, all this other stuff. Now, if you were going for a relationship and they're trying to give you a job, done, walk away. That's all you need to know. Men don't want to be wanted for their money. Women don't want to be wanted for their labor. That's why they are starting trends like, oh, I can't cook. So just like men say, I'm poor and I don't have money. It's a similar thing. Farmer Wants a Wife has these women doing labor to win his heart. Are you kidding me? Okay. And the ballerina farmer, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a similar thing. When you are looking for a relationship and looking for a partner, if they are trying to put you to work, if they start saying, oh, well, let's build together, Barbara Builder and all these things, walk away. Unless you have your resume and you are looking for a job, don't go to these men and have them expect you to put you to work or have children to save on labor, more children, free labor. Is that a life that you want for yourself or your children that you will be raising, and probably with no help? Even though this millionaire ballerina, well, I'm digressing, but only because I'm drawing a parallel because he is a farmer as well, and he is a millionaire. All right, I'll just tell the story. He is a millionaire that his father owns an airline. He got on the airline to sit next to this ballerina, talked her out of her
future of being a wonderful dancer, having freedom and traveling the world to become his wife. She has like something like 8 bloody children, only has anesthesia for one of them, and that's because he wasn't present. He gives her no help. She wanted to go on a trip to Italy for her birthday. His father owns an airline, that's how he got her, and he gives her a bloody egg apron. That's the life that you can count on if you go to someone who tries to use you for labour. That's exactly what you are to him, a commodity. And unfortunately, that is how a lot of men view us. But you need to find the one that doesn't. So, that is why Farmer Wants a Wife is completely wrong. If someone is trying to put you to work without even Andrew Tate is another example. Be wary of a relationship that expects you to bear the financial burden by working, and he earns off of it and you get nothing. This is why I encourage women to financially benefit or be comfortable from their relationships, because we have the most to lose. We are unsafe. We have the risk of pregnancy. We have so many risks. We have so many things that we have to, our energy is drained, we heal them. Our labor is, there are just so many things that I'm not going to get into, but the point is, make sure you are taken care of before you become vulnerable and allow yourself to be taken from. And do not go into a relationship with the knowledge that you will be labor. That's an employee, that's not a relationship. So, entertaining, yes. The choices they made, I won't get into, because none of them, I don't feel like they were completely real. And I feel that the reasons that they made them, there's just a lot of things about that show that just, yeah. So, entertaining, sure. But do not be tricked into thinking that that is a situation that is healthy. Ladies, protect yourself. You're the most at risk. Make sure you're in a situation where you can be vulnerable and in your femininity and safe. Otherwise, create that for yourself and be alone. And then, when you have that for yourself, all they can do is add to it. Never go down. Always stay or go up. That is what feminine energy is, and that is what you deserve. So, we'll continue to watch the show, but understand, never accept that for yourself.
No way!
Love Island UK Season 12 has finally introduced a list of confirmed contestants. Shay Manning, Remo Mullins, Tony Lates, Connor Phillips, Blue Chigani, Shakira Khan, Harry Cooksley, Helena Ford, Kyle Ashman, Megan Forte Clark, Tommy Bradley, Alima Gagigo, Ben Halbro, Sophie Lee, Dijon Noel Williams, and Megan Moore. The rumoured cast members are still said to be entering as bombshell daters. This week's first round of couples are Tony and Ben, Connor and Helena, Harry and Sophie, Megan and Tommy, Blue and Alima, Meg and Dijon, and Shakira is single. So stay tuned as we explore the dynamics and red flags of the Love Island UK couples as the weeks go by. Okay, so I recently watched a film that made me feel compelled to make this segment, and it's on Prime Video, Apple TV, and it's called The Gorge. Now, this movie is basically a metaphor for a relationship, and I recommend it to a lot of women to understand kind of what the dynamics should look like. Now, you have this man and this woman that get put on this isolated place for a year, separated by a gorge. They have no one to talk to, they have no communication. Once a month they get a check-in with
the people who hire them, so that they can make sure that they are still alive, because something is in the gorge that they are trying to keep down there. It's all mysterious, anyway, the point is, Miles Teller, who I am now enamored with, but he is the fella. On the other side, there ends up being a woman, the one who, Queen's Gambit, the chess player, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but amazing. Both of them perfect specimens. So they end up playing a very sweet, almost like texting, where they would write and you could look through the scope and you read to each other that he was a rule follower. He did not want to engage in contact because that was what they were told not to do, and she was a spitfire and she was like, F the rules, which kind of is a dynamic that works really well with couples. And she, before she goes on to before she goes to live there, her father tells her that he is going to commit suicide on Valentine's Day. On that day, she's very sad, and he writes to her, I missed you on, when we were doing rounds, what happened? All she writes to him, I've had a bad day, I wish somehow you were here with me. That's all she said. She didn't nag him, she didn't say, why aren't you here, come get me, she didn't say, I wouldn't, she didn't, nothing. She just said, I'm sad, I wish you were here. Do you know that man goes to get a missile, breaks it apart, gets that zip line rope, ties it to the missile, shoots that across the bloody gorge, not even knowing if it would hold. She catches it on the other end, ties it up, and he says, what would you like to have for dinner tonight? That is what a man will do. You don't need to, you just present a problem, his brain will sort it, because he has the desire for you. Okay? Goes across, they have this beautiful encounter. As he's going back, the pulley gets blown up because what's coming up from the gorge goes up on the other side, lets off a bomb. He literally falls for her into the gorge, because they don't know what's down there. She, without thinking, literally gets her parachute and jumps down for him. I'm not going to ruin the movie for you, but everything about this film was a metaphor for relationship. And if you know how to interpret it and look at it, it's exactly what you should expect. It was so beautiful, and so, he was very sweet. He never pushed her. She kind of gave her wish and he made it happen. He was the power, she was the magnetism. It's just like an electromagnetic system should work. They had each other's backs. It was just a beautiful, beautiful film. The Gorge. Watch it. And then understand what a man will do if he fancies you. And you can't even get a fella to return your text, and you're stressed over that? That's what you're settling for? No. Grand gestures that don't necessarily cost anything, but show their desire and their willingness to win you, because you're worth it. Watch the movie The Gorge. I have more recommendations later, but this is something that will help you understand what you deserve. So yeah, check it out. The Gorge. Miles Teller. I'm going to take a page out of Hailey Bieber's book with Selena and kind of destiny swap with whoever you're with, because yeah, you something turned on in you in this film and you became a man. Goodness, because he always plays like the kind of the friend, that the dodgy friend, but you still keep him around because he's worth something. But in this film, perfection, yes. So he is stalker worthy. I would stalk him. Anyway, we are not going to continue this line of thought, because it is, but yeah, The Gorge, go watch it, love it, yes. And if you have any recommendations, leave them in the comments, and whatever you think, please let me know. Cheers.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the stage Virolga Leilani.
So I stopped dating short hair for health reasons. Physically, it was giving me back problems, and mentally, it was making me a very aggressive and angry person. I mean, I want to wear heels like every other woman without having to justify them or feel guilty. No, babes. Yes, these were the only shoes I could find in my size. And no, I don't think the trainers would look better with my gown.
Nope. No way!
And I'm tired of answering, how's the weather up there? It's obviously the same, just a way better view and less abstracted. And let's not forget the, oh, I'd love to climb you like a tree.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, it's meant to be charming, to which I respond, only if I could put you in my purse and spend you like a black card. And I'm tired of having a long-distance relationship with them standing right next to me.
No way!
No, babes. Oh, could you just text it to me? I couldn't hear you. But occasionally, I do miss them, though, I do. And I question my decision. But it's only when I drop something. I don't like bending over. But I'm fine.
And check out the latest from Aglorev Entertainment for all of your level up needs.